Welcome to the Artist Academy podcast, a place where we focus on the business side of art to help you attract more customers, increase profits, and ultimately live a life of creativity and financial freedom. I'm your host, Andrea Earhart, and you might have just heard my son who is sleeping in a carrier on top of me right now. We are recording from my closet with the mic up against his baby things and my computer on a laundry hamper, and he is sleeping, and this is what I have time for, and this is what my life looks like right now. And so you might hear his weird noises in the background, but I think everything he does is super cute, so we're just going to roll with it. Yeah, we're going to talk about my number one pricing strategy to book new customers or just new commissions in general, or really any job. And this strategy comes from the side of my brain that says, give people a deal, stick within a budget. People don't have money for that. And then the other side that says, I want to make bank this year. I want to charge what I'm worth. I want to make a whole lot and work very little. And so this is a really good strategy for me to use both of those and combine them into one and have the customer choose. And it is to give them options. For example, when a customer comes to me saying, I have a 10 foot by 10 foot wall, I want this painted on it, and he sends some inspiration photos, and I immediately think, oh, wow, this is gonna take a lot of time. Oh, okay, so I will explain that to him. I'll say, or her, whatever, them, and say, what you're wanting is gonna take X amount of time, and it's gonna cost $10,000 or whatever. Or we can do it for $7,000, and it can be a lot simpler, and it can look like this, and it can still look really cool. Which one do you have room for in your budget? And that helps them decide, okay, how much do I really want to spend to make it look amazing? Or can we just get by making it look really good? And I typically will sell both sides of it. I'll say it can look amazing, or you can still get a really good product with this. It'll take less time and, fit into your budget a little bit better. And it'll kind of surprise you what people will choose. I've had people go for, oh no, we want amazing. We'll pay what you're charging. We know it's worth it. And I'm like, oh, great. Thank you. But then a lot of the time too, I live in Missouri, the Midwest, where people are on a budget, and there's a lot of mom and pop stores, and they can't afford a big mural. Like, that's just how it is. Typically bigger businesses will say yes to the big stuff, and then small businesses will say yes to the more budget-friendly stuff. Typically, again, people will surprise you. I've had some big customers come back and say, oh no, we want to go cheap. I'm like, you have the budget for this, whatever. I guess it's just up to me to, make it seem more worth it, but which is another topic. But getting into it, I'm going to tell you a couple stories about how I use both of the high budget and low budget strategy, and how you can do it too. So just recently, I had a customer come to me, a school, and they wanted a big painting of their mascot, which is a tiger, on the wall, and it was pretty big. And I immediately thought, oh, whoa, this is going to cost some money because it's going to take a while for me to cover that much space, first off. And so without even asking what their budget is, I just said, look, this is the cost of this. It's going to cost $8,500 to do a big, realistic tiger on your wall, and it's going to take me a lot of time and detail. Or if you want more of a basic school mascot illustration like you see in most gyms, it'll still look really good. That'll be $5,000. And so $5,000 versus $8,500. And really, I don't know that I would have had the time, with having a baby at home to do the realistic one. So I priced it up to make it worth it. So I made it worth it. And because for me to leave the house, I'm going to have to arrange for my husband to watch him all day or my mom to come up. And so I wanted to make it worth it. So $5,000 or $8,500, I would leave the house for that. So that's what I sent them. And I also explained, this is going to take a lot more time. And they also had a deadline. They wanted to get it done before a big basketball tournament. And I said, okay, look, I can get it done. It's going to be hard, but this is the price, and just explained each one. And they also wanted another mural too. So that with that one, I charged, oh gosh, what am I charging? It was going to be $2,000. They just wanted tiger eyes and above the bleachers. And so I was like, okay, it's going to be $2,000 again for the mascot version, which is just like 3 colors maximum. Or if you want realistic tiger eyes, it's just going to take a lot longer to make something more realistic, more hours. That'll be $3,500. So again, they were choosing between $3,500 and $2,000. And I just explained that it's going to take almost double the time to do this. And I suggested whichever one you choose, I think we should either go with the realistic version on both or the mascot version on both, the simpler one. And I mocked them up for them so they could see what each of them looked like, and they chose. At first, they chose the illustration, the cheaper one. I was like, okay, that's fine. I don't really have time to do the realistic one anyway, or it was going to be a lot harder. So whatever, it'll still look really cool. And then they took it to the board and said, this is what we're going to do. And they said, wait a second, I think we maybe have room in our budget. Let's look at what the realistic version would look like. And so this tells me, hey, they would have had room. They have room in their budget to do something amazing if they chose. So they just needed to figure out if it was worth it. So they asked me, some more questions on, how much time am I going to need, when I could do it, and all the things. And then they took it to a vote, and they voted to do the lesser version. So not the realistic version. They chose to do the illustration, which is less, but I let them choose. And it was a toss-up. And I thought in my head, $8,500 for a mural, whoa, that's a lot. Really, anything over $5,000, I'm like, whew, okay, I hope they say yes. But you never know. I just wanted to tell you that story because a lot of the times, people have it in their budget if they really stretch. But again, it was a school. I was just surprised to see that they were even considering the higher one, just because in my head, schools don't have a big budget. I don't know. Actually, that's just rooted from my childhood, I'm realizing, because I went to a very small school in a town that has a population of like 300 people, and I had 30 people in my graduating class, and there was no money to do anything there. So I imagine every school is like that one, but it's not, apparently. And we can charge what we're worth at schools. Great. And now that I know that, I'm passing that on. So I guess without going to, not all of my examples are going to be thousands of dollars, because truthfully, the bigger stuff is a bit more rare, especially for me here in small town Missouri. For a project to get above that $5,000, it's pretty rare. I probably have 3, 4, maybe 5 of those a year. Although I am manifesting more of those this year because the big stuff is the fun stuff. And that's where I can hire Artist Academy people on to come and help and learn. And we can do mural meetups with it. And I'm manifesting this year. We'll see if it happens. I'm just going to say it out loud. I want one big project a month from now until the end of the year. That's what I want. So I have this big tiger project, even though they didn't go with the realistic one. That's okay. I'm still making $5,000 plus $2,000, $7,000 on this one thing. And it's going to take, I don't know, I'm going to hire Artist Academy people to come and help me. And so I'm hoping to get it done in 2 to 3 days. So making $7,000 in 2 to 3 days, that's pretty good. That's good. Although I'm going to be paying out some and supplies and all the things, but I'm going to be utilizing a sprayer. And for big projects, a spray gun is, I think, what's going to save me this year. So I'm investing in a spray gun, one that's a little bit more mobile. Anyway, we have tutorials inside the Academy if you would like tutorials on how to use a spray gun. Small tip. Anyway, so there was another one here not long ago that while I was pregnant, I wasn't taking on as much. And so somebody wanted a small kids room mural, and I just love doing kids room stuff. But again, I have a mental block thinking that kids rooms, I can't charge very much for them. And sometimes that's true. Yes, I get ghosted a lot on kids room murals from, moms who thought that they, what I would charge $50 to go paint their kids' room for the day, which is not the case. And then some people just have money for it. And those are the people that I want, right? So this person reached out, I look at their profile, and I don't know, you can just kind of tell, not to be super judgmental, but let's just be real. You can just kind of tell sometimes when people have money and when they don't. Sometimes they surprise me. I know that I'm being judgmental and stereotypical here, but sometimes you can just tell whether it's they have a profile picture that's professionally done with a family photo on their doorstep, with their door is super huge. They have money. It's like, you can just tell. Or if they have like white trash posts, maybe they don't. Like, okay, so this person just looked like they didn't. Okay, I was like, I don't know that they're going to let me charge what I need to charge. And so I gave them an option. She wanted just a quick little map scene with a couple animals. And I said, okay, for the small version, I'm just going to charge $350 and it'll be small and we'll have 5 animals on there. However, if you want the big one where it's going to be take up most of the wall and we can put 8 animals on there, or 9 or 10, I don't remember how many I said, and then that'll be $600. So double the cost. And truthfully, between me and you, it really doesn't take that much more time for me to paint double the size, because you just use a bigger brush or a roller and it doesn't take that much more time, but it's extra effort. So she ended up going with the $300 option, and I ended up getting it done in an hour and a half. So I made $300 in an hour and a half, and easy. But that just helped. If she wanted it to be cool and take up the whole wall and be really amazing, as soon as you walk in, that's what you see, then she could pay for that. That was not in her budget. So she wanted it small. It worked for her. She was happy with it in the end, and it all worked out. However, if I would have gone into that thinking, oh, I want to do the whole wall and I'm going to quote her $600, she might have said no, and I would have missed out on that small project. So just food for thought. There was another one here recently to where the customer said that his budget was maximum $7,000, but what he was asking for was a lot more. So I ended up making a mock-up for that. And I said, look, this is a $9,000 project and we're going to do it. This is as simple as I could do it while sticking close to your budget. However, if you want to remove the lettering, which, yeah, he's going to have some lettering on the mural and it was going to be really big. It was going to take me another like half day to do it probably. I would say, okay, it's a $9,000 project, but if we don't do any lettering and we just do, the basic colors on there and make your design without a sentence on it, then it'll be $8,000. So getting it closer to his budget. And I wasn't sure what he was going to choose. I wasn't sure if the design was more important, like the full design with the colors and the lettering and all the stuff, or if it was really more important for him to stick to budget and go cheap. And he ended up choosing the $9,000 option. He wanted the lettering on there. He was willing to pay for it. And yeah, that's just, but I think, it's not just going bigger or going more detailed. It's like, okay, we can take out an element and fit your budget that way. Or, if somebody wants a jungle scene and they want 10 animals, they want monkeys and all the things, to be like, okay, well, you said your budget is X amount and I can do 3 animals for the X amount that you're telling me. That's as much time as I'm willing to allot to this. This is what can fit in there, and we can do a cool background. However, if you're willing to pay X amount more, I can put in 5 animals, or X amount more, you can put in 10 animals. Tell me where your budget is, and I'll tell you, how amazing we can make it. Or sometimes, actually, what I did recently for a jungle mural is I was like, okay, we can pick some animals that don't necessarily have a lot of detail in them. So like a lion would have been a lot of detail, a lot of fur detail. I said, okay, let's do an elephant. It's all gray. It'll just, even though it's big, it'll take up a lot of space instead of doing, a monkey and a lion and doing all these different things. Let's do one big animal that takes up a lot of space. It's just easier for me to paint that rather than paint 3 different things, or birds with multiple colors and feathers and all the things. So I just explained to the customer that. And they went with it. Like, yeah, a big elephant's great. Because a lot of people don't understand, if you paint a flock of birds that are really small and detailed, whether as you just put one animal that's bigger over it, that can be cheaper. And I think it can look just as cool. So that's another one. Another way, another example is if somebody has a wall that is flat versus if they have a wall that is, say, corrugated metal, which is the worst possible thing to paint on. I don't want to paint on corrugated metal this year. I'm just going to put that out there too. Please, nobody ask me to do it. But what I've been doing recently is I will say, okay, it'll cost you $3,000 for me to paint your logo on corrugated metal. However, what I can also do is I can take this specific board, then I can paint it on that, and then I can install it, or I can give it to you to install. So instead of painting it directly on the corrugated metal and spending time at the customer's location, what I've been doing recently is, hey, I'll paint this in studio and on something, on a piece of material, whether it's, MDO board or polytab or all the things. And I'll say, I can then give it to you to install, or I can install it for less. And so I'll say $3,000 to paint it right on corrugated metal because I don't want to do that. Or it'll be $2,000 to do it this way. And if they are budget conscious and if they want it to look better, really, they'll just go with the $2,000 option. Or if they're really stuck in their ways, they're going to pay a lot more and we're going to do the corrugated metal, which I don't want to do, but I will do it if they pay me enough. So biggest thing here is if you come across a project that you don't want to do or you don't have time for, bid it up. Bid it to make it worth it, because that's what I'm doing lately. And I'm thinking of it now in a way of, okay, if I'm going to leave my son, if I'm going to leave him all day with somebody else watching him, I better make these projects worth it. I better, if I'm getting out of my pajamas, it's got to be worth it. So that's what I have in the back of my mind is, okay, I'm going to give them an option that is going to be worth it, worth my time, and charging what would make me happy. And I'm going to give them two options. One that's I can go and do really quick and then I can come run back home to my baby, or they're going to pay me a lot more and we can make it look really cool and it's going to be worth it financially. Yeah, I'm giving them two options. So yeah, that's your tip for the day. That's all I have time for today. I'm going to go hang out with my little boy now. Okay. Hope you have a great week. If this episode inspired you, or if you found it useful, please share it. Share it on your social media and tag me. I would love that. And also, if you want to do murals this summer and you want to make more than you've ever made, we have a program called the Mural Master. It is in the Artist Academy, and currently it is only $32 per month. I am raising that. Oh gosh, actually, I'm not sure if it'll be raised by the time this episode airs. I don't know. But if you mention in this episode, there's a good chance that it could be. The price could be raised by now. I don't know. So get in while it's still cheaper. But if it's not, and you say, hey, I heard in this episode that it was cheaper and I will honor the price. Okay. $32 a month and you can cancel anytime. We even have a 5-day free trial. It's really so inexpensive for the amount that you're getting and the money that is possible to be made with this. So if you want this year to make the big bucks and be telling the stories that I'm telling about pricing something at $5,000 or more, then I would love to help you do that through the Mural Master program inside of the Artist Academy. So go to artistacademy.co/apply or just artistacademy.co to see what we have to offer. And yeah, that's okay. That's all I have today. All right. I will catch you next week.